I am here with Mark Siegel, who is the editorial director.
Right.
That's it.
Of my business card.
That's it. Of First Second Books. And you are also a creator in your own right of To Dance, which has won several ALA awards, as well as most recently Sailor Twain, which isn't really for kids.
Nope.
But it's still
It's
really,
adults.
really good.
It's definitely adults.
Well, we don't really get kids reading School Library Journal, so it's okay we can plug an adult book.
That's right.
All right. So my first question for you is, how did you get started working in comics?
Growing up in France, I had a bit of a bias for comics. There's a different culture of comics over there. Kind of like, what's happening now where it's spreading into the mainstream of just the reading diet of people who love books. And that's been the case in France since the 60s, pretty much. So they were always around, and I was always doing them as far back as I can remember.
All right. So yes, you did read comics when you were a kid, which was my second question. But my follow-up to that is, who influenced you in the work that you're doing now?
Well, that's hard to say. I think part of the journey of finding your voice as an author is you do have to shed certain influences, and there were people, I think some of the people who've had an influence that I've had to shed in a sense. There was Mobius, Mike Mignola, Hugo Pratt, who's also one of the giants of the European scene. A number of other people, some kind of more cartoony types as well. Definitely the Calvin and Hobbes and Schultz in a weird way that has had I keep finding his influence in what I do. I keep returning to what he does, which is very different in theme or in look than what I do.
Okay. I can remember being at ALA, I think the first year that First Second was in business,
Yeah.
and you passing out the T-shirts that, in space no one can hear you read, and
Yeah.
I still have that somewhere.
I still have mine.
Yeah. How did you, this was in the early days of book publishers publishing comics, especially for kids.
It was a moment. It happened, First Second happened at a moment that was very unique, I think, in the history of comics in America, but it was a time where really right in the middle of the manga explosion, all the big publishing houses were angling on the graphic novel and wondering what they should do about it. There were already, of course, from the indie comic scene, there were these great houses like Top Shelf and Fantagraphics and Drawn and Quarterly, of course, and so there was an opportunity to do something. I felt like from inside a big publishing house, I could actually build a program that would have something for young readers, for teens, and for adults, and build those three concurrently. And so at first it looked like we were all over the map and we didn't know what we were doing. But then as the season rolled, season after season, we rolled out our titles and it became clear that we were building these three collections.
All right, very good. What are you guys currently working on, and what are you working on personally? What's coming up next?
Well, next is the Sailor Twain is the next project. I have some other things cooking that I can't talk about.
That's all right.
But yeah, Sailor Twain is keeping me pretty busy still, even though it's on press, but it's coming out in October. With First Second, we're living in the future. There's some big projects. There's Scott McCloud, there's Jeannie Yang, there's some really big, ambitious projects, and we have some incredible stuff coming in the very next seasons as well. Marathon, I should mention, which is an epic tale of it's the true story of Euclides, the original runner from Marathon to Athens, who kind of saved democracy, and it was the origins of the Olympic Games as well. That's Joe Infernari and a writer called Boaz Yakin. He's an established filmmaker. But we have many things, and right now there's an exciting thing with Giants Beware.
Giants Beware is good,
which is really young and really incredible, high energy.
It is fun.
Those were two guys who showed up at San Diego at our booth, and they, like 50 other people that day, showed their project.
Yeah.
I 3 pages in, I knew I was going to sign it up.
Yep.
It's nice when that happens. It does sometimes happen.
Yeah.
And we have Mastering Comics is out, which is the big new textbook from Jessica Abel and Matt Madden, which is incredible. It's like it just deepens the whole program. It's both like a college level course in making comics, but it's also for self-study, and that should knock a few socks off.
Very
and it's
good.
also going to inspire, I think, the next generation.
All right. Well, looking across houses, is there something that you've read in the past year that you think is just fantastic for kids or for teens?
Yeah, I just picked up Explorer, the
Yeah.
Kabushi book. Was the anthology. There's some incredible talent in there.
It really is.
There's a lot of stuff actually. There's more and more, and it's great because I feel like every time someone else scores, we all win. You know, because we're all building. We need to build that space. You know, and now you have a place like Little Island, which is the Big Island's. It's the first children's comic store
In North America,
in
I
North
think.
America.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great, and it tells you something. You know that you can stock a store now, and it's a great, bright store with so much to offer.
And sales and yeah, it's not. It's not what the comic people have been saying you can't do. It's everything you can do in a bookstore setting. It's wonderful.
Yes, absolutely.
So my last question for you, and this is the librarian one, is if you were stranded on a desert island and could only bring one book with you, it doesn't have to be a comic book, what book would that be?
It would be a blank book.
Yeah.
Maybe not the most original answer, but I think that's true.
Well, you don't have a pencil. You've only got a book.
Only a book.
Only a book. Well, you know, I guess you could use charcoal, assuming you build a fire.
Maybe John Irving's A Prayer for Owen Mead.
That's a great book. Nobody's mentioned that one before. That's got a killer ending. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mark, so much.
Thank you
It was
so
nice
much,
to
Eva.
talk with you.
Yeah, it's great.